Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. My name is Sean Specie. If I haven't met you yet, I'm the Chief Strategy Officer. I'm an MC. I'm a podcaster at a company called Elevate Experiences, and I'm one of the volunteers here, an event professional who cares about and supports Ukraine in this war and in this invasion. And we've got a group of people behind the scenes, like Fab, who's running the stream. We've got Marine, who's in Bali, helping with behind the scenes. We've got Ronald, who's helping share videos. We've got a bunch of other event professionals. And thank you, number one, for being here with us. I see that Ronald has already said hello from Malaysia. If you are watching live, we would love it, love it, love it. Number one, if you could just comment and just say, hey, where are you watching from? So that we can show our support for the people of Ukraine, any Ukrainians who might be watching this, as well as please hit the invite button and share. I mean, it takes, I did it last night. It takes just a couple of minutes to hit the invite button and you can invite. I think I invited like 236 people in the span of 3 minutes just by clicking on people's names. And so please go ahead and do that so that we can just share this message, because this is all about supporting Ukraine. As you might have heard before, my family, my great grandparents immigrated from Ukraine to Canada in 1910 to escape Soviets when Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union. And my great grandfather was so afraid of the Soviets that he refused to leave the country of Canada. And then my mom grew up. Her father was not Ukrainian, but her mom was, and grew up going back to Canada, going back to visit with all of her family. I still speak some Ukrainian, very little, but some Ukrainian with my 4.5-year-old daughter. And so this is one of the reasons why I'm here. The other reason why I'm here is I had a friend in college who he was going overseas to do some work, and he was uh, basically fundraising for it. He was trying to raise funds. And 6 months later, after he had fundraised and he had gone overseas and he had been there and he had gone through some intestinal stuff, he had gone through just some really hard times doing the overseas work. He said, all of it will be worth it if one person's life could be changed. And so all of the work, all of this small amount of work will be worth it if we can help change one person's life in the Ukraine. And so I'm thankful to be here this morning. I'm watching. I know that you guys, I saw that we've got people from Malaysia, we've got people from Bali, and so people from all over the world, including a couple speakers from Ukraine. Thank you for watching, James from Singapore. I see you there. Different people from different locations. And I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. That's where I'm tuning in from. And I want to share with you first, before we introduce the first speaker, is the first speaker, the next two speakers are going to be from Ukraine. And before I invite them up, I want to share with you a letter that I've read this morning from the Secretary General of the United Nations. I'm not going to read the entire letter, but I'm going to read a good portion of it. And so, Fab, if you want to, in the private chat, there's a link to it, I believe, or it's in the Google Doc, or in the Discord. And so also, if you're watching this and you want to volunteer your time to either speak at a Support Ukraine Live to tell how are you sharing the message, how are you supporting Ukraine, different ways like that, then you're more than welcome to. So no, more than welcome to reach out to us and join the Discord, join the conversation. I apologize. It's just after 6 a.m. my time. I'm still waking up my brain. And no, I'm not a coffee drinker. I wish that I was. It probably helps sometimes. So the letter from the Secretary General, the very first sentence says, Ukraine is on fire. The country is being decimated before the eyes of the world. The impact on civilians is reaching terrifying proportions. Countless innocent people, including women and children, have been killed after being hit by Russian forces. Roads, airports, and schools lie in ruins. According to the World Health Organization, at least 24 health facilities, that's including hospitals, have suffered attacks. Hundreds of thousands of people are without water or electricity. With each passing hour, two things are increasingly clear. First, it keeps getting worse. Second, whatever the outcome, this war will have no winners, only losers. The United Nations and humanitarian partners are working to ensure safe passage from besieged areas and to provide aid where security permits. More than 600,000 people have received some form of aid. As millions of people in Ukraine face hunger and dwindling supplies of water and medicine, I'm announcing today, this is the Secretary General of the United Nations, will allocate a further $40 million from the Central Emergency Response Fund to ramp up vital assistance to reach the most vulnerable as we wait for the nations to come. This funding will help get critical supplies of food, water, medicines, and other life-saving aid to the country, as well as provide cash assistance to the needy. But the avenues in and out of encircled cities are more precarious by the day. I underscore the crucial importance of respecting international humanitarian law. So I'm going to read the next couple of lines, and then we're going to talk with our speakers to share their stories so we can listen. So here it continues. At least 1.9 million people are displaced inside the country of Ukraine, and growing numbers are escaping across borders. I am deeply grateful for the solidarity of Ukraine's neighbors and host other countries who have taken in more than 2.8 million refugees in the past 2 weeks. The vast majority of those making the treacherous journey are women and children who are increasingly vulnerable. Now, here's something, this is not part of the letter. This is just something for me personally. I didn't think about this next part, but it makes a lot of sense. So listen to this. For predators and human traffickers, war is not a tragedy, it is an opportunity. And women and children are the targets. They need safety and support every step of the way. I will continue to highlight the desperate plight of the people of Ukraine as I'm doing again today. Yet there is another dimension of this conflict that gets obscured. And then it goes on to talk about not only the women and children refugees, not only the destruction, but now also the food supply and how countries we've all been recovering from COVID. And now with this war, Russia and Ukraine constitute, it says, 30% of the world's wheat and more than half of the world's supply of sunflower and oil. And so there is a growing humanitarian crisis of a food crisis that's happening potentially worldwide with this Ukraine. And so, with this conflict, with this war that is being ravaged and wreaked upon Ukraine. And so, if you are Ukrainian and you're watching this, number one, I want to encourage you, and I want to say we are praying for you, and the world is here to support you in this war. And if you are Russian and you're watching this, I said this on the very first stream that we did, but we don't hate you. I don't hate you. We don't want death and ruin to fall upon you. This is me personally speaking. Is that but because I am American, I am a husband, I am a father, I am of Ukrainian descent. And I do ask, though, that you reach out and that you do what you can to stop this war because it is wrong. And so, joined with me is someone who's actually in Ukraine. So we've got Danilo, or Dan, as he is asking to be called. I'm comfortable calling you either. So Danilo, hey, thank you for being with us. I know that you mentioned that you're actually in your office today. So thank you for going to your office. Thank you for joining us with the stream. And number one is I would love to ask you just a couple of simple questions. And where are you now, and how long have you lived in Ukraine for?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm currently in Lviv, western part of Ukraine, so we're safe here. I've been living my whole life here in Lviv, so yeah, never moved to another city, never moved outside of Ukraine. So yeah, I'm true Ukrainian.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for being here with us. And so you did mention earlier that there was, even just right before we started this, that there was an air raid. siren that was happening, correct?
Yeah, correct. Actually, it went across the whole country, so in all the cities of Ukraine, because yeah, airplanes are flying, shooting rockets, and you never know where does it come to. So we recently, a few days ago, there was bombarding near Lviv, near Polish border. Probably you've heard about it in Gavriv. Mm, so yeah,
Yeah, we did hear about it, but to hear about it and to experience it like what you're experiencing are two different things. But I have a
yeah.
so how often do you hear those air raid sirens? Are they multiple times a day? Are they every couple of days from where you are?
Yeah, actually, it's multiple times a day. Um, they usually we hear sirens a lot at night because it's a strategy of Russian military. They only can shoot at night, early in the morning, like 3 a.m. or something. So yeah, usually it's like twice a day or something. But it's in Lviv. I can't imagine how much time people hear sirens in Kiev or Kharkiv. Probably it's just a whole day.
Yeah, I was just reading about an attack that another attack that just happened in Kharkiv, and it seems like it just keeps it's never ending right now, right? Do you have
Unfortunately,
friends
yeah.
or family? Do you have friends or family that are in Kyiv or in Kharkiv that you've reached out to or that you've heard anything that we haven't heard before?
I don't have. I have friends. I had friends in Kiev, but they moved to Lviv in the western part, or
Got
they
it.
moved abroad. Um, we were housing a few of them at my place in Lviv, um, and also I have colleagues from Kharkiv. A few of them have moved also here, but one decided to stay in Kharkiv. He is still in Kharkiv, and I've heard that um, there is a lot of bombing. Of course, the city is almost destroyed. I don't know actually why he is staying there, but he just doesn't want to leave his home. So yeah, he still has like food and water, so it's quite okay there. Um, he tries to keep positive mood and just believes and hopes for the best.
Well, I'm glad that he's doing that. I'm glad that he's keeping the hope for the best. And
Actually, my girlfriend has family in Dnipro.
okay.
It's near Zaporizhia. You probably have had heard about nuclear plant in Zaporizhia. The Russians are threatening us with it. So it's like very close to Dnipro, where's the family of my girlfriend. So yeah, we are quite stressed about them because there were bombarding in Dnipro too, um, actually near their home. So yeah, big stress for us right now, and they also don't want to leave.
Are you able to stay in touch with them pretty well?
Yeah, everything is okay. We call them
Good.
every day.
Good. Good. I know that you were mentioning earlier that even recently, like you've had a little bit of trouble with cell service happening, which is understandable. Like I just read a report this morning that another TV tower was attacked, and so it it who knows if there's a cell phone tower that will come down sometime soon, something like that. But what was so because I mean you're in your office right now, you're having air raid sirens happening a couple of times a day. But what was working and what was life like for you before all of this started?
Yeah, so I'm working at relevant software development company, and we are just providing engineers to companies around the world. We have 80 people working for us. Uh, so as a tech company, we were working remotely before, and of course, because of the COVID and everything. Um, but yeah, it was just usual life. I was working in Lviv, semi-remotely, semi in the office. So like 3 days per week in the office, 2 days at home. Probably is a lot of us today. um, so yeah, nothing special. For the last few months, there was a big risk of the war because like military, Russian military close to our borders and everything. Um, it was quite stressful, but we couldn't imagine that it would escalate to something like that.
I was going to ask that. So when the military was starting to amass at the border, what were the expectations of people in Ukraine? Did you and your friends and family, did you expect this to happen because it was building up at the border, or did you think this is a threat? Maybe like did you think that maybe it was just like a warning or something like that? Did you actually expect them to come in and invade?
So we as a business were preparing for that because you should always prepare for the worst and yeah, deal with the risks. But personally, we couldn't imagine that they will cross the border because it's just unbelievable. Me personally, I just was thinking about that if they will go on Ukraine, it would be probably like World War III. So it's just a scale, the catastrophe, unimaginable. So yeah, we were just thinking that he's bluffing, and it's just political game to I don't know to prove something to NATO, to United States, um, and yeah, just a game of chess. But actually, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that I mean, even now, like you mentioned the threat of World War III. I was reading another article where here in the United States, there's even now a shortage appearing of these certain tablets because people are afraid that if the US gets deeper and deeper and deeper involved, then it's going to cause some kind of nuclear response, which no one wants to happen. Like in an ideal world, Russia gives up and they pull their troops out and they go home and they apologize and there's some kind of reparations made because this is a wrong invasion. This is a unjust war. And I don't think anybody, Russians, nobody wants to see this escalate to a nuclear level, which would it would just be awful. So 100%. Well, now that so you shared with us what it was like beforehand, you were working semi-remote and now like how often are you in the office? What is work life for you? And I ask these questions because we are streaming to LinkedIn and there's a big professional world on LinkedIn. This is usually where people go to network. It's where people go to talk about their work, that kind of thing. So what does work look like for you now? Are you mostly at home? Is it how is it that you get to work? That kind of thing.
yeah. So for the past 2 weeks, I was at home. Uh, First, like 5 days, we were just shocked and nobody was actually working, especially like my department. I'm head of marketing department and we just didn't knew what to do because we were talking about business, about software development, technology, and now this. And later we decided to talk about Ukraine and this is our responsibility to talk from inside and tell the world what's happening. But yeah, first 5 days we just didn't knew what to do. I was staying at home because the office was closed, um, and actually only like from yesterday the office is open for everyone and everybody can go to the office. Mm, and yeah, first days it was big stress. A lot of people taking days off. We weren't working full time because we had a lot of volunteering job. And actually here in Lviv, it's like a point where all the refugees from Ukraine go to Lviv and then they go to other countries. So only yesterday, 200,000 people came to Lviv by train only by yesterday 200,000. So Lviv is just full of refugees. And first 2 weeks we were like volunteering, helping with humanitarian aid, housing people, um, like mother with two kids was living in my apartment, and a lot of people from Kiev, from Kharkiv, from Dnipro. So yeah, it was tough. Right now, it gets like we get used to it. I get used to sirens, to stress. Um, And yeah, we decided that the best we can do right now is to support our economy and to keep the business working. So actually in Lviv, all the cafes are working, all the like everything is like normal, because we just have to support our country because the eastern part and central part they can't work. The business is closed there. So we in western part have to do everything to keep paying bills and keep economy moving because yeah, that's what our country needs right now. So currently, like how company is working, um, I don't know, probably 95% of employees are working full time right now. So everything seems okay. Of course, everybody is scary, but we get to used to it and yeah, keep working.
Well, I think that's incredibly insightful of you guys to recognize that, hey, while the rest of the country can't work, we can. Here's something that we can do is support the economy. I find that encouraging. I find that insightful. I find that yeah, I'm inspired by what you guys are doing, and I think it's inspiring also to hear that number one is it makes sense. It makes perfect sense that all of you would go through this period of, well, what do we do, right? Like, what do we do? And then you move into the mode where it's, hey, let us tell the story, and now let us tell the story and keep moving the business forward because there will be it might be hard to see, but there will be a life after the war, whatever that looks like. God only knows. And when it does happen, hopefully your business, hopefully your jobs are still there. Hopefully you can support Ukrainian economy as you go through this rebuilding phase in the eastern and central part. So um, again, hey, Danilo, thank you for being here. Is there anything that you would like to share with us? Any question that I didn't ask that you would like to encourage people? That's my first question. And then my second question is through the internet, because a lot of people, I mean, the comments are from Malaysia, we've got from Australia, I'm in the United States, people from all over the world. Is there anything that's encouraging to you to see or to hear that people can do or have done through the internet? That's my second question.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank like the whole world for supporting us. It's really, I don't know if you can understand us, but it's just unbelievable that the whole world stands for Ukraine. We never saw that, and it's just very, I don't know, just tears come to my eyes because of that. Like, really thankful for everyone supporting us and helping us. What I want to say is, I don't know, you see the link going below me. You can donate with crypto. It's initiative of our Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. So it's a legitimate government site where you can donate with crypto. I personally did that, and yeah, encourage you to do that too. And also, as I was talking about the economy, the best thing you can do is to support local business. So, for example, IT sector is like one third of economy of Ukraine because we are exporting a lot of engineers. This is what you can do. If you have a tech company, you can hire engineers from Ukraine, marketers. I don't know, any person who can work remotely. You'll really support the economy of Ukraine, and it can even be better than just donations to the army or something because it will help us keep the business moving and working. And also purchase products from Ukraine. I don't know, everything we can.
That's awesome. And I know that your company, the website is relevant, RELEVANT dot software. And so if
Yep.
someone's watching this, and I'm on the website right now, it says we design, build, and deliver software products. And then it says we provide companies with senior tech talent and product development expertise to build world-class software. And I've scrolled through a couple of the different things that you guys have done, so reducing paperwork for construction companies, developing a SaaS software as a service platform to assist with home buyers in the United Kingdom, gamifying a customer support with a Zendesk app. So some really cool things. And so again, That website is relevant, relevant.software. And so if you want to support the economy in Ukraine, if you want to support the Ukrainian government, you can do one of two things: go to the website that's scrolling on the ticker, or you can also support Danilo and his team and check out their website, refer it, share it, post it on social media, promote them. The best marketing is I'm a marketer also for our small company. And so the best marketing is word of mouth marketing. And so read through the website, get familiar with it is one small thing that you could do, and then share it with someone who maybe they have an interest. Maybe they have a project that they're working on, and this is a great solution for them. So, Danilo, hey, thank you so much again for
Thank
being
you.
here with us. We really appreciate it. I'm praying for you and your family. I'm praying for your friends and your girlfriend's family who are apart from you guys, and just for Ukraine. So, thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. So that was our first speaker this morning, and I believe we have another speaker coming up by the name of Victor. Victor is the head of content marketing at rinf.tech, so rinf.tech, and a tech journalist at Hacker Noon, is currently living in Kyiv. Vic, how's it going?
Thanks for having me. Hi, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for
Uh,
being here with us. And Victor, are you still in Kyiv?
yes, indeed, I'm in Kiev. So I've stayed here from day one of the war. And basically, it was pretty quiet here over the past few days, maybe a week, until this morning. And you probably read reports in the news that this morning there was an airstrike upon metro station in Kiev, which is very close to my place, to where I live. So I haven't seen the I haven't seen the damage myself yet, but I saw the pictures, and they are really blood curdling. Like everything is destroyed, the facades and the buildings around the metro station, they're all like down with the windows being blown out. Yeah, that's I've yet to see it. And also, I think the first couple of days after the invasion were pretty tough because we woke up to sounds we had only heard in war movies before, like sounds of cruise missiles and bombs and shells and gunfire, because there were also some subversive groups that infiltrated basically and penetrated Kiev, and they tried, to do some subversive activities, and maybe due to some street fights, we heard those sounds. Now I agree with Danilo, the previous speaker, that we got used to all of those sounds, and we can even say the difference between a cruise missile and a rocket and a bomb. So we are accustomed to the atrocities that we see every day. But anyway, here in Kiev, the situation is still much, much better than in Kharkiv, in Mariupol, in other cities of Ukraine that are really, being hit hard by Russian bombs and missiles and reduced to rubble. Like I've mentioned before, in Kiev we haven't had, a lot of, at least some armed attacks recently, only some occasional attempts to hit down our TV tower or to destroy some military facilities. But now they've changed the tactic. They've started targeting civilian areas as well, because, like, for instance, the airstrike that has happened today, there's no military object, there's no military facility or anything they could target. So it was just a random strike upon a civilian area. Yes, so we still have internet, we have connectivity, we have water, hot and cold water, we have electricity. Like, we are lucky, to enjoy the luxury. I mean, yeah, it's luxury for people living in Kharkiv, living in other cities, but we still have it here. But we don't underestimate our enemy, and we know that the situation can change in no time, and we can have the same, situation as people are having in the suburbs of Kiev, in Bucha, in Hostomel, the cities which have been surrounded by the enemy, and now they don't allow any humanitarian corridors. They don't allow any humanitarian aid being brought inside, these cities. People like have to spend weeks in the basements or in bomb shelters. That's terrible, of course.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that, and thank you for taking time to be here with us and for sharing that. I have a question about the metro station. Is the
Sure.
metro station before the war? And I know that like things change daily. Before the war happened, is the metro station in any way, shape, or form a military target, and for any reason?
Uh, I don't know, but before the war, I know that our metro system was meant to be used as a bomb shelter in case of of potential hazard and threat. And now more than 15,000 Kievans live in the subways on a 24/7 basis, so they maybe return home just to change dress or do some some things, and still they return to the metro where they sleep with their children, with their pets. They even watch, like they use. So they have like their own cinema, and they try to entertain themselves. But as for metro being the military targets, it's quite possible, yes, because they need to disable. Their goal. I mean, the enemy's goal is to completely disable our city and to disconnect us from the communications, um, and also to seed panic among people, just to make everyone be afraid and just frighten people. And maybe it's one, that's why they choose metro as their target, if I understand you correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing reports, I mean, almost as soon as this started, of men, women, children, everyone hiding in the subways and the metros to avoid, because it was the closest to a bomb shelter that they had, which
Mhm.
makes a lot of sense.
Yes,
Question
we
for
also,
you. Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, we also have like in the house where my apartment is, there is a basement which is used as a bomb shelter. It's pretty well fortified, so to say. But other basements in other houses, they aren't really a good fit for a shelter, because if something happens, and then people will have no way out of the place, or they can be trapped inside that basement. Therefore people tend to avoid those basements, and they choose metro because they feel safer in the metro.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense also. That definitely makes sense also. Well, question for you, because you mentioned like 15,000 people hiding in the metro like every day. That's a lot of people. That's a small city hiding down in the metro.
Yes.
What do you and your friends and your family do to stay positive, to stay hopeful, that Russia will that this will end, and that somehow like Ukraine will stand still independent and free? What what do you guys do to stay hopeful in things?
Yeah, we know that we really need to take care of our morale, because if our morale drops, then we'll have no motivation to keep going, and that's what we need a lot. So personally, as the war broke out, I spent a lot of time basically just doom scrolling, scrolling the news, and trying to keep tabs on what's happening right now. Whether we are beating the enemy or not, what new towns have been hit, what new places have been hit, and stuff like that. And then like 3-4 days later, I realized that it was overwhelming, like the news. There was too much of news, too much of information coming into my mind, and I really needed to change, to switch to something else, just not to fall into depression. So I started working. I started basically combining my full-time job as a digital marketer, as a content marketer with a software development company. with some volunteering, and there are two types of volunteering I basically do. So the first one is I sometimes help drive supplies like food supplies from restaurant kitchens into the metro, into the bomb shelters. We feed people, and this whole initiative is run by several groups of volunteers. And because I have a car and I still have some petrol in my car, so I still have some fuel, because fuel is in short supply all over Kyiv right now for civilian cars. So I help drive food supplies to people who need food and some essentials. And then I also serve on the cyber front, because I have some skills. I can translate, I can fulfill some pretty simple missions. So I've joined the IT army of Ukraine. We have a channel on Telegram, and new targets or new tasks are added in that group on a daily basis. And basically, I can't fulfill all of them, because some they require pretty in-depth understanding of cybersecurity and hacking and stuff like that. But when I can, like for instance, if there's just a website URL that you need to copy and paste in your browser and keep it open for several hours while it's sending those attacks and trying to disrupt the Russian digital infrastructure, that's what I can do. Or there was another task, like we had to select random places like restaurants or hotels in Russia, and then we just went there and posted some comments with footage and images of the Ukrainian cities being destroyed, of casualties, of victims, and we tried to get our message across that you Russians are being brainwashed with your propaganda. You don't really get the truth. And we just tried, to reveal some truth to them and show that they need to have a second opinion. They need to stop relying that much on their television, on the federal channels, and they also, need to have a better awareness of what's happening in Ukraine right now. So we tried, to use different creative ways of getting our message across and enticing Russians to stand up for their rights. To go on a rally, to do something, to protest against war, to go on the streets and do something.
Well, it sounds like you're doing a lot, and it sounds like you're taking action where you can and how you can. And it's encouraging to hear the creative ways that you guys are using, because the truth should be known and the truth should be told and the truth should be
Right.
shared. And so it sounds like you're doing really, really important work to help your country, to help Ukraine. I hadn't heard that term yet, although it makes a lot of sense. The IT army. So
Yeah.
I think that
Well,
that's incredibly
hacktivism. You can also call it hacktivism.
got it, got it. And tell us, so how often, when before the invasion started, before the war started, when you were working and living in Kyiv, what was life like before the invasion started? Would you go to a cafe to work? Would you go to the office to work? Were you staying at home and then you'd be able to go out for fun? What was it like?
Yeah, due to pandemic, I used to work from home most of the time. Although my company it does have a beautiful and a large office in one of the business centers in Kyiv, but because I joined the company around 5 months ago, and I worked from home before, I chose to continue working from home. So to be honest, my professional life hasn't changed much since war began, because I'm still working from home whenever possible. There were a couple of times when I worked from the shelter, from the basement, and luckily the internet was of good quality. There was no downtime, so I could work effectively. The only difference I would say is that I can't be 100% focused on my work during my working hours right now. So I get distracted by those air raid sirens, by having to go down to the shelter. or by just checking the news, especially if I've heard some new sounds of explosions. I need to. I go to my news feed to check. What has happened. So I get more distractions from the external world right now, but I try to keep focused. And here I agree with Danilo that we need to work, to keep working, to keep paying our bills and paying the taxes, because that's what will help retain our economy and even improve our economy, and that's what will help reinforce our army and make the victory one step closer. Um, so and because I can't carry an arm, I have no military background or experience whatsoever. I think I'm pretty useless, even if I get some training, and if I attend a drill, I don't think I'll still be able, to gain those skills, military skills right away. But I also want to be useful, and I think I can use my skills, my knowledge, my abilities to be useful in things other than armed defense.
Well, I think that word that you just used, useful, like, just because you can't carry an arm doesn't mean that you can't be useful, and I
Sure.
think that's an encouraging word for not only other Ukrainians, but also for us around the world where we might feel like, "Hey, I can't come there and carry an arm, but I can do something else." And so, that word useful it can show up in many different ways, and it sounds like you are incredibly useful, and other men and women who are doing what you're doing and things similar, like, it sounds like they are being useful, and I love the sense of patriotism and the sense of love for Ukraine that I'm hearing. And again, like, from someone who's from the United States, from other people that are behind the scenes, like, this is called Support Ukraine Live for a reason. So we just wanted to say that we're here for you and we're here to support you. And I know that scrolling across the screen, you shared with us this website, helpukraine.rinf.tech. Is there anything that you can tell us about that link there?
Yeah, that's basically my company, Rinf Tech. They've created this landing page where they provide all the details about how you can support Ukraine from abroad, like donations, refugees, and different types of support. So basically, also like if you want to help refugees with accommodation, if you want to help translate something. So different. If you want to join different initiatives, you can learn more about them from the website. It also contains all the credentials for bank accounts which you can use for donations. So just check it out, and if there's something that sticks with you, go ahead and help us.
Yeah, I'm on the site right now, and it says that there's a list when you go to the website, helpukraine.rinf.tech. There's a list that says here's some different ways that we can support Ukraine: donate money, donate blood, donate products, accommodate people, so the people who are being displaced, the men, women, and children who are refugees, support the workload, refer somebody, and help translate. So there's many different ways that we can help, and they are all. If you want to see that for yourself, you can go to helpukraine.rinf.tech. Vic, is there any question that I should have asked that I didn't, or any final words that you'd like to share with anybody who's watching?
No, Sean, I'm good. I think I just want to thank everyone for your support. We really feel it here in Ukraine. We feel, this global support, and that's what also helps us stay strong, stay committed, and determined to win. Yes, and my message is that again, if you want to support Ukraine and Ukrainian tech industry, please just give more job to Ukrainian developers, to Ukrainian specialists, give your projects, hire Ukrainians, and it will be your direct contribution to the success and to the victory and to our strong economy. That's the message I'd like to deliver.
Well, thank you again for giving us some time, and for sharing with us your experience and sharing with us those words. Now, I haven't said this publicly for fear of pronouncing it incorrectly, but Slava Ukraini, correct?
Yes, glory to Ukraine and glory to heroes. Heroям slava.
Awesome.
I just want to jump in real quick, Vic. This is a design of a shirt we made up. So this is one of the shirts we sell on our store for Support Ukraine Live. And I thought it was appropriate for you. It's I took the Foreign Legion and turned it into the Cyber Legion one, just for you.
Great. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Vic, again. Thank you, Fab, for sharing that. Yeah, so a link to that, we're going to put that down below, but we're going to leave it up just for another minute, helpukraine.rinf.tech. If you would, if you're watching this live or if you're watching the replay, would you drop a couple of comments in to support and to show Danilo and now Vic and our next speaker that you support Ukraine? Just anything encouraging, anything that you heard, anything that you're learning. I'm learning a lot doing these. And of course, we would love it if you would drop a comment and invite someone to watch this. You can copy and paste the link in a direct message. You can share it on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, MySpace, if you still have one up and running, wherever you want to share it. We would be honored if you did that. Just simply not to honk our own horn, not to blow up Support Ukraine Live. That is not the goal. The goal is to blow up support. Maybe that's a poor choice of words, but we really want to show support for Ukraine and for the Ukrainian people, just like Vic, just like other people that we've spoken to, Ruslana and others. And so we have one final speaker who's going to join us. This is Ruslan, who's the head of customer success and is a Ukrainian currently living in Sydney, Australia. So,
Ruslan's one of my friends, so I found him a video that I thought he would appreciate. So I'm going to play that right now.
I forgot about that. So we got a video just to lighten the mood a little bit before we bring up Ruslan.
Welcome to Ukraine. Here we have a bloke that's giving this big fuck off landmine the old yeah nah. He's like, I don't know who put it on the road, but I deem it unsafe, guys. He's not even scared smoking a durry next to it. Durry means cigarette, by the way. What I like about this legend is he's also not half-arsing it. If you're gonna do a job, do it properly. The most I've ever picked up off the road in Australia is a blue-tongued lizard, hey. They can give you a nasty bite, but yeah, they don't explode. Not comparable, really. Crikey, he's basically walking it back to Russia. He's like, fuck it, where's Vladimir Putin's desk? Let's put it underneath. Anyway, Slava Ukraini.
Oh my God, that is so good.
Yeah, Fab shared that with us this morning and we were cracking up at it. And Fab was like, hey, he's going to appreciate it because he's Australian. I was like, it's a little rough around the edges compared to what we normally show with dropping a couple F-bombs. He's like, well, he's Australian, so might as well show it anyway.
Yeah, like there's wartime. There's no time for censorship. It's just the way it is. You got to show the truth. So
good. That's good. Well, Ruslan, hey, thanks for being here with us. And so tell us a little bit more about you. You're currently living in Australia, but you're Ukrainian?
yeah, I'm born and raised. I'm from Ukraine. In fact, I'm from a city of Kherson, or as some English speakers would say, Kherson, which was actually one of the first cities that was occupied by Russians. It's the city that's neighboring with Crimea. So essentially, it's currently being occupied. I think it's the only major city that has been taken so far by Russians. I have heaps of friends and relatives in Kherson who are posting, pictures and videos on Instagram. What's happening there. But yeah, like I actually just came back from Kiev literally about a month ago. I flew back on 10th of February because I went home for 1.5 months. I haven't been home for 2.5 years because of COVID. And it was pretty surreal to just witness everything as it unfolded from afar.
I bet, especially since you were literally just there visiting, I'm sure, friends and family. Well, our heart goes out to your friends and family that are there in Kherson, that are there and under the occupation. And if you're able to direct message with them, what are some of the things that you tell them or that they're telling you?
Yeah, look, it's pretty tough. I mean, I guess in these sort of scenarios, it's you don't want to be too optimistic and sort of telling the people, oh, don't worry, everything's going to be fine, because it's the odds are we don't know what's going to happen. So
Right.
it's just on making sure to check in if there's any way you can help, if there's any way you can either support or donate or provide assistance. But in many ways, it's just having a chat to them and just telling them that you think of them, and we're trying to do our thing and our part, even though we might be far away, but there's still small things that we're doing on an individual level that will hopefully contribute to the bigger cause. But yeah, look, it's in Kherson there were talks about supposedly running a referendum similarly to what they did in Crimea. So, apparently, as if people want to join Russia, but people have responded with very numerous demonstrations with Ukrainian flags, singing Ukrainian anthems, unarmed, and just walking next to the tanks and telling Russians to go home. So that's very inspirational to see scenes where you have tens of thousands of people in the street among the tanks, sort of telling Russian soldiers to go home because they're invaders and fascists. So that's but it's pretty surreal because that's my street, that's my city, that's the main square, that's the school I went to. So yeah, people are just trying to get by as they can.
Well, and tell us a little bit more about some of the things that you're hearing, because when I hear the term occupation, I might picture something in my mind. From what you're seeing and you're hearing, like what are some of the things that maybe they're allowed to do or they're not allowed to do under this occupation that's happening?
It varies a lot, city to city. So with Kherson, there were a lot of fights between our military and Russian military in front before the city and before they entered the city. Then our forces had to retreat further to protect other cities and other positions. So they haven't really bombed the city as much as they're bombing. For example, you might have seen the horror of Mariupol, where the city that is being encircled. So they haven't entered the city, so then they're afraid of entering the city, and they're just bombing it from afar because they can't really do much. So with Kherson, it's I think for Russians it hasn't been a target that they were pursuing, so they haven't really been trying to advertise it via their media channels. But then for them, it's pretty much impossible because every day there's so many people in the streets with Ukrainian flags, and they were trying to do some false flag sort of operations, bring a truck with some bread and make a picture as if they're mercenaries saving people and giving them bread, and no one's even walking up to the truck and taking anything. So just people taking a stance despite they've announced that you can't supposedly leave your house, after 4 or 5 p.m. You're sort of leaving your house at your own risk. But as long as there's enough people doing it, then there's still very few military people who are there. And I think that's one of the things that Ukrainians are trying to convey to Russians, to say, look, there are 130, 140 million of population in Russia. There's very few of military that you have, and very few of police personnel. So you just need to get some numbers and go in straight, because we're doing it right now, even being occupied.
Yeah, that. Well, thank you for sharing with us. That makes a lot of sense, and the people are leading by example and still standing up for what they believe is right, which is a free and independent Ukraine, which is what we're hoping for. That is still standing after all of this. And thank you for sharing. I know that it's probably not easy necessarily to talk about this. This is an emotional subject. I can only imagine what it would be like to see this unfolding upon a city that you grew up in. So thank you for sharing that with us. So you've been back in Australia for a month now. You hadn't been home in 2.5 years, you said, because of COVID, which is completely understandable. I've got friends here that hadn't been able to go home for 2 years to United Kingdom or other parts of Europe from the United States. So that makes a lot of sense that you hadn't been able to do that. Do you have you been talking with anyone about, are they hoping to potentially leave Ukraine? Are they all hoping to pretty much stay where they are and to try to like live this out and fight this out? Or what are some of the people talking about?
Yeah, look, I think there's a broad spectrum of people. People like Vic and Dan that we heard from today. Obviously, they're staying and protecting what they can. My parents are in the age where they are not are not in a position to take up arms and go and protect the country,
Right.
but yet they're still at that age where they're not allowed to leave. So now it's very much a wait and see situation where they're doing what they can behind the scenes, supporting the volunteering where they can, and trying to stay safe. But there's a lot of people who obviously fled the country, and you can see that it's been the biggest amount of refugees in Europe since, if I'm not mistaken, since the Second World War, because there's been 1.5 million people who left the country. So that's one thing. But on the other side of things, the morale of what I'm hearing from my friends is quite high, and similar to that video that you were showing. I think those types of videos are circulating, and I think it shows that people are not giving up, and it shows the spirit. And we had some of the highest mobilization rates in Ukraine, and boys and girls taking up arms. There's been, I think, within the first few days, there's been 100,000 people who joined the regional territory defense. So it's not exactly sort of self-organized self-defense. It's not necessarily military, because you have to be a trained professional to contribute. But they gave out 25,000 rifles in Kiev, and as long as you had a passport, you can go and take up a rifle and then patrol the city, obviously under the instructions. So there's a lot of people leaving, but there's so many more people staying, and it's a country of 45 million people, and the Russian army is 200,000 at best. So the numbers are not in their favor. So you'd have to be a lunatic to think you can take over the whole 45 million country, the biggest country in Europe by territory.
Yeah, that's definitely something that the world has been watching, and that's something that I love the fact that these videos are circulating, because it just shows like the spirit of like, no, like we're going to fight this. Like, no, this is wrong. No, like we can do something about this. And so I think that's definitely encouraging to see and to hear. Well, hey man, thank you for being with us. We know it's late at night for you.
No worries.
And is there any question, anything I didn't ask that I should have? Anything that you would like to share with anyone who's watching either the replay or watching us live?
Yeah, look, maybe just one thing I'll add. I think the guys, Vic and Dan, shared some of the charity organizations. And I think there's one on the bottom screen as well that you can, if you do your research, look at the one that's closer to your heart. But I very much echo the things that they said is, although it's military wartime, protecting our economy and protecting our businesses is one of the priority things right now. And if you're a business leader listening out to us today, or if you source on LinkedIn, you're a professional, work within a company, I would urge you to review the vendors and contractors and customers that you have today, because any dollar that you pay to the vendor or to contractor who are potentially in Russia paying taxes, you're de facto financing the war. And we've seen a lot of global companies, BP, McDonald's, Apple, Microsoft leaving the country because they understand the reputational damage. And when people say, I don't know what to do on my level, on my small level, on an individual, as an individual, you can advocate for a company to review your vendors and contractors. And if you need to fill that gap, well, you have amazing software developers back in Ukraine as well that you can contract to especially in this time. So I would very much urge you to consider the business implications that for your business and how you can use it for your own advantage, because imagine how many software developers are currently looking for work in Ukraine. And for a lot of startups that are out there trying, that have raised money and are looking to build the MVP in their products, or even for mature companies, it's a great way to, do the right thing and then benefit your business. So maybe that's just the only thing that I wanted to add.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredibly important, and that's not something that we've heard shared before, but is definitely something that every single one of us, if we're working in an organization that does use companies internationally, or even use companies that might be local but they outsource to international sources, making sure and double checking that where the money is going is definitely is supporting Ukraine in this war. And I personally think it's been encouraging to see the world rally behind Ukraine in the fact of pulling out business from Russia to not fund this until this ends. And I mean, ideally, at one point, we do welcome Russia back into the world's economy, but this needs to stop and something needs to change. I personally believe before that happens. And so, like you said, doing our research to make sure that where our money is going to the right places. And so, the website that you shared with us, I typed it in, and it redirects us to an organization called Come Back Alive. And that organization is one that I've definitely heard shared. I've been listening to Twitter Spaces sharing sit reps on what's happening in Ukraine, and it's definitely an organization that I've heard mentioned a few times of doing really great work. And I was on their Twitter scrolling; they've helped deliver. So what if you if you go to savelife.in.ua/en/donate, if you type that in, which I did, it'll take you to a website and it redirects you to their new website, which is comebackalive.in.ua. And that organization, what they are doing is they're taking donations and they're purchasing much needed supplies for the military, for the men and women that are on the ground in Ukraine fighting the war. And I've seen reports, and they're very open about where money goes and what is being purchased and what's being donated and what's being delivered. And they have support. They have provided bulletproof vests. They've provided drones. They've provided radios, as just a small example of some things. So, if you feel called to, please, we would urge you to go to any one of these websites that we've shared. Go to this one. Go to the one that's shared by Dan, by Vic, by any one of our speakers here, by any one of the other ones. So, Russell, and hey, thank you for being here with us.
No worries. Thanks for having me today. Thanks,
Yeah, I
guys.
hope you have a great night. And Russell, hear us all say from Support Ukraine Live, from anybody who's watching, I'm praying for your parents and for your friends and for your family that are back home in Ukraine. And guys, this is not over. It is, as I read at the beginning from the United Nations Secretary General, it seems to be getting worse. And so, my hope is that because of the saying, the night is always darkest before the dawn, that as it seems to be getting worse, hopefully we hit a point where it starts to turn and trend upwards. Until that time, each one of us, we can be useful, just as Vic shared with us, and that can be in different ways. So here's a couple of ways that you can support. You can invite someone to watch this stream either on YouTube. It's going to be on your YouTube channel. You can invite someone to watch this LinkedIn Live. Drop a simple comment and encourage Ruslan and his friends and family. Encourage Vic. Encourage Dan, who is here with us. You can go to this website that we have on the screen with us as a way to support. It takes literally less than 60 seconds to go to supportukraine.world, and then you can add your name to a map, and that map is just us showing the people of Ukraine that we are there to support them. And then if you go to supportukraine.world, we do have linked a couple of nonprofits underneath that map. So one of them is the international place to donate for the Red Cross. One of them is Help Us Help, which is the founder joined us for the very first Support Ukraine Live Ruslana helped found it, and they are helping men and women on the ground. They are helping them evacuate men, women, and children, and they're also helping with other things that are needed for including international first aid kits. So you can go to supportukraine.world. Shown on the screen also, this is, and we'll drop this in the comments, this is a link to a store where if you want to show support by not only donating, but also getting back something that you can wear to show that you are supporting Ukraine. This is a shop that Fab behind the scenes has put together. And he shared a logo. That logo is available on one of the items. There are t-shirts, there are tank tops, there are other ways that you can support. And there are flags and hearts and different things that you can show your support by wearing that around. You can show your support by taking a clip of this video or taking a clip of a TikTok or something that is accurate news, something that is in you'll have to forget. Not only that, but you can also share news that is important to share. So different trusted sources like the Kyiv Independent and different things. And then the last one is you can welcome and support refugees if they appear where you are, or you can donate to organizations and donate to families, just like you heard Dan, who said that he had a family that was living with him in his apartment. You can share to different people through different methods to help support the refugees that are leaving Ukraine because of the war. As always, our goal here is just to show support. So thank you for watching this live. Thank you for watching the replay if you choose to. Be sure to go to any one of these websites to show support. Drop a comment just to show you support. Add your name to the map to show that you support.